The Apache Shadow. This is not a legend. This is the truth someone tried to hide for decades. Part 1. The beginning. Layla Becker should never have driven to Arizona that May. 24 years old, ambitious, beautiful in a way that made people stare. She was an art house filmmaker in Los Angeles, creating documentaries about archaeology, about history, about forgotten things. Rich people paid her substantial money for her talent. Professor Marcus Chein from Arizona State University had invited her. He found something in the desert, something ancient, something that Apache elders had hidden from scientists for generations. Layla arrived in Phoenix on a Wednesday evening. Chein picked her up at the hotel. He was intensely excited. His eyes burned with enthusiasm and something else she couldn't name at first. Fear? No, it was terror. You cannot imagine what we discovered, he told her while they drove toward the canyon. This will change everything we know about the Apache, everything we know about continental archaeology. Why did you contact specifically me? Layla asked, watching the desert sky turn purple. Because you document truth the way it actually is, not through the lens of science, not through museum presentations, through reality. They drove for 3 hours. The road deteriorated. Asphalt became gravel. Gravel became sand. At some point, Layla realized they weren't following any marked routes anymore. This was a forgotten corner of the desert, abandoned by civilization. The canyon Chein mentioned was called Sash-Chu. The Apache did not go there, at least not willingly. Chein parked the truck. Moonlight made the desert silver, almost unreal. We walk from here, he said. Just a few hundred meters. They walked. Sand crunched beneath their feet. Layla heard something. Was it wind? No, it was a sound like breathing. Then she saw the rock formation. It was not natural, though it appeared to be. The stone was carved, sculpted deliberately. The size of a 3-story building, it jutted from the desert like an accusing finger. Its surface was covered with symbols. Apache writing. But not just writing. Figures. They danced across the stone, frozen in ancient poses. Dozens of figures. Perhaps hundreds, but all Layla could focus on were their eyes. Every figure had enormous, hollow eyes. Do you understand? Chein whispered. Layla understood only one thing. She needed to leave. We should go, she said. This is wrong. This place is sacred. Chein interrupted, his voice suddenly cold. The Apache sages knew about it 1,000 years ago. They understood that this place held something too powerful for one tribe. They knew something lives here. Layla stepped away from him. He did not follow. He simply stood before the formation, his face upturned toward the symbols. The journey back seemed eternal. She ran, but the sand pulled at her feet, every step requiring double effort. Behind her, she heard the sound again, that same breathing. But it was not wind. It was not Chein. She reached the truck and drove. The road back to the city felt endless, like a road to nowhere. Part 2, Silence. Layla reported everything. Police arrived at the canyon. They found Chein. He sat before the stone formation, dead for 2, perhaps 3 hours. His face was peaceful. His eyes were closed. There were no wounds on his body. They said it was a heart attack. She knew better. Students talked about Chein to other students. Journalists caught wind of the story. Scientists launched an investigation. Geographers came to examine the stone. They found it. Some said it was a natural formation. Some suggested ancient Native American carving. Some simply said it looked inhuman. Photographs appeared in journals. On the internet, people speculated. Aliens, magic, an ancient civilization. No one thought to ask Layla more questions. For them, it was simply another interesting mystery, one more unexplained fact about the Apache. But Layla did not forget. 1 month later, she returned to the canyon. Alone. No one knew she was going. The formation waited for her. This time she saw more. The symbols could be read. If you knew how. Layla did not know ancient Apache language, but she translated. She found writing beneath the Apache symbols. Much older, much deeper. It was a warning, a message for those who came. That night, Layla could not sleep. She found an Apache shaman named John Jacob. He was well over 80 years old. He lived in a small settlement outside the city. His house was old, built from wood and stone. She came to him in the evening. He was waiting for her. "I knew you would come," he said. "My grandmother told me about a girl who would seek the truth. She said this girl would be young, beautiful, brave enough to forget fear." "How could you possibly know that?" Layla asked. "Because this is the history of our people," he said, welcoming her inside. "A history we buried so deep that no one could find it. But the place in the canyon will not allow it to remain forgotten. The truth must be told. The elders said that if the truth is not spoken, the shadow will be released into the world." Part 3. The Legend. John Jacob told the story for 2 hours. 300 years ago, the Apache people did not live in the desert. They were migrants, arriving from northwestern lands. During their migration, they discovered Sash-Chu Canyon. There they heard voices. The voices came from beneath the earth. They sang in a language the Apache understood, though it was far older than their own. The voices spoke of something that happened thousands of years before the Apache came to the continent. A tribe lived here, a tribe that welcomed something from the sky, something unknown. "We believed they were gods," John Jacob said quietly. "But they were something else, something older, something that wanted to teach us an art we cannot comprehend with our human minds." The Apache leaders, listening to the voices, abandoned the canyon. They told their people this place was sealed by one of the greatest taboos. No one should go there. No one should speak of it. It was a place where the boundary between worlds was thinnest. The violence began. About 100 years ago, a stranger came to the reservation. He was a scientist like Chein. He wanted to document Apache legends for the world. The Apache elders told him about the canyon. They begged him to leave things as they were. He did not listen. He went there alone. They found him 3 days later. He sat before the stone formation, dead. His face was stretched, as if he had screamed his last breath. His eyes were closed, but beneath the lids, something moved. Watched. Eventually, it stopped. The Apache elders buried him quickly. They did not allow scientists to investigate. There were more cases. 9 times people tried to unlock the canyon's secret. 9 times they died. Always before the formation. Always peacefully. Always with closed eyes beneath which something moved. "What is actually there?" Layla asked. John Jacob remained silent for a long time. "I do not know," he finally said. "But our legend told that it is something that does not want to have a name. Something that exists in the space between sleep and waking. Something that waits for someone to hear its message completely." "And what happens if someone does?" Layla asked, though she already knew the answer. "Then the boundary fractures." Part 4. The Investigation. Layla researched extensively. She accessed university archives, police records, medical files. 9 deaths. 9 times over nearly 200 years. The information was scattered, encoded in different systems, but she found the pattern. Each death came 1 month after visiting the canyon. What was killing these people was patient. It did not attack immediately. It waited. Perhaps it allowed them to tell their story. Perhaps it listened as they explained what they had witnessed. And when the words had been completed, when the confession was finished, it acted. Layla recorded everything on camera. She created a documentary about Chein, about the canyon, about the 9 deaths. She showed it to no one. She kept it on an encrypted hard drive, locked in a safe. Then, 3 months after her first visit to the canyon, she began seeing things. At first, they were dark shapes at the edge of her vision. Shadows that vanished when she looked directly at them. Then they became more concrete. She saw them in mirrors, in windows, on the walls of her apartment. They were like shadows, but with volume. They had the shape of people, but their proportions were wrong. Their arms were too long. Their necks were too long. Their eyes were too large. One night she woke to a sound. It was that breathing sound again. But this time it was in her apartment. In her bedroom. She turned on the light. Standing at the foot of her bed was a figure. It had the form of a woman, but it was not a woman. Its skin glowed with a grayish light. Its mouth was too large. When it breathed, the air in the room shuddered. The figure did not move. It simply stared at Layla with its enormous hollow eyes. Layla did not scream. She simply closed her eyes and remained silent until light began to seep through the window. When she opened her eyes, the figure was gone. She understood now. She had spoken about this. She had sent her words through the documentary. She had called it, and it was here to listen. Part 5. The Return. Layla packed her belongings and bought a ticket to Arizona. She had to return to the canyon. She understood this now. Like the other 9 people, she had to finish what she had started. John Jacob met her in the desert. "Are you ready?" he asked. "No," she answered. "But I cannot live this way. Not with something waiting behind doors. Not with something watching from the corners of rooms." "I know," he said. "The elders said that only to the one who fully hears the message can it be answered. You must go there. You must listen until the end. And then you must make a choice." "What choice?" "To stay or to leave." Layla walked to the formation alone. This time she was not alone when she arrived. The figures were everywhere. They maintained the shape of people, but they were prototypes of the human body. As if a nightmare had taken form, the stone began to glow. The symbols ignited with blue light. They moved, reconfigured, transformed. They told a story spanning thousands of years, writing it in the air itself. They were the first tribe on the continent. They looked up during the night and saw stars that fell. They emerged from their caves to greet the sky. The sky welcomed them with 7,000 tongues. The sky taught them. But because their minds could not comprehend everything transmitted to them, they forgot nearly everything. They kept only pictures, symbols, the knowledge that something greater existed. When they died, they remained, not as ghosts, not as angels, but as part of this place, as messengers, as keepers of the message. They asked the one who heard to tell the world, "Tell them we are not alone, that above us, below us, beside us, something greater exists, that our reality is just a thin gray layer, that through the cracks infinity looks back." And they asked the one who heard to live. Part 6. Epilogue. Layla Becker emerged from the canyon at dawn, alive, unharmed, but changed. She no longer records about this. She does not tell people about the canyon. She knows that if she does, the message will be passed to someone else. It will be transmitted further, like a voice through a megaphone. Instead, she lives. She creates films. She teaches. She looks at the world somewhat differently, knowing that through the cracks in reality, something looks back, waiting for us to be ready to hear it. John Jacob told me this story before his death 3 years ago. He asked me to record it but not to publish it for 20 years. He said that by then, perhaps the world would be ready. Layla Becker is still alive. She also asked me to tell this story. She told me something else. If you have the feeling that something is watching you from a dark corner, if you see figures moving at the edge of your vision, if you hear breathing in an empty room, do not run. Listen. Maybe it is just a message waiting for you to hear it. The boundary between worlds is becoming thinner, and something here is waiting for us to finally listen.